Hello my friends, it's the 2nd of August 2015, Mr. Max Bliss in the southwest of France. And today we've had quite a lot of blue sky, but as we look around we can see things happening there in the sky. Planes are starting to deploy contrails, which they weren't earlier. We had a nice blue clear sky, but they're back. How can I be sure of that? Well, let's just have a look at what's happening in our sky right now. We've got planes leaving persistent contrails. We've got strange goings on with these clouds. Artificial clouds. And what a contrast when I look here. The sky is polluted with ice crystals, apparently. Just ice crystals. But these ice crystals spread, they block out the sun, they alter the climate, and research would indicate that there has been a very, very long-term desire to control the weather and climate. And these contrails are playing a significant role in this, increasing cloudiness, changing the dynamics of our weather and climate. This is having a huge effect. And a lot of us who have been doing research into this have very little doubt that this is deliberate. This is certainly going on because of jets flying. There's a massive increase in haziness, in this cloud cover, and even the intensity of the sun is changing, which would appear to be all linked together with the use of aviation for covert weather and climate modification. And of course, this hotly debated topic because the media and the establishment have been pumping all this fear and alarmism about climate change or the anthropogenic global warming problem. And there are massive solutions, world-changing solutions that will affect every single one of us. Sustainable development, also known as the United Nations Agenda for the 21st century, Agenda 21. It's a far-reaching global plan. And it's set to change its name yet again to the United Nations Post-2015 Agenda. This is a huge global plan that will leave no one person behind. We are talking about initiating a one world government so that the world's oligarchy can take control of our planet, not for the benefit of we the people, but to fulfill their ultimate dreams of dominating and controlling the whole planet. And they will try to instigate this through convincing everybody that there is a climate change problem that supposedly has come around because of our normal everyday activities, such as driving your cars and switching your lights on and using appliances at home. Our general use of energy relies on fossil fuel, and they're saying that the carbon, the CO2 emitted into the atmosphere, is causing global warming. Well, we know about the ClimateGate scandals. We know about the homogenized data and the altering of data to try and give this impression that we got a global warming problem. But the truth is, what we have is a strategic global warming problem. We have a problem where a covert weather and climate modification program is being introduced globally now in order to modify the weather and climate surreptitiously in the hope that we will not realise that there's a program going on, and we'll believe the repetitive hype about global warming and all the changes that are going to be necessary. Sustainable development. Some of it sounds like a good idea, and in many ways some of the plans suggested in sustainable development, they are a good idea. We do have to be better custodians of our planet, because there has been an industrial rampage that has been causing great harm. So yes, there are certainly changes that we need to bring in. But sustainable development is about removing your sovereignty. It's about taking away your freedoms. It's about taking away your access to resources. It's about limiting your lifestyle to live within very tight constraints dictated by the oligarchy, who set up the United Nations and set up all the various different institutes and foundations and non-governmental organisations, such as the Club of Rome and the Trilateral Commission and the Council on Foreign Relations and the Royal Institute on International Affairs, and countless numbers of these organisations that have been set up by the oligarchy for cultural and social engineering. And they have been working out how to convince the masses to believe their lies, their hype. Isn't it incredible, this effect, this iridescent effect? The sundog, they call them. The one over there is gone now. You know, these are reflective particles, these are chemical particles, metal particles, all kinds of different additives introduced into our atmosphere for this covert weather and climate modification program. And it really, really is the crime of the century. It's quite incredible that this can go on. Pilots within the aviation industry, they don't dare to speak out about the possibility of these contrails being extraordinary, because they live in fear of losing their jobs. But the terrible fact is that many of the frequent flyers, many of the pilots are actually getting ill now with neurological disorders, serious problems that has killed pilots. It's called aerotoxic syndrome, and they try to say, oh, that's just from burning lubricating oils that's getting into the air through the air bleed systems, getting into the cabin air, and that's the reason. They don't dare admit, of course, it's because they're putting chemicals into our atmosphere for this covert weather and climate modification program being used to con the masses. They want us to acquiesce to the new world order. That's what they call it. That's what they call it, the establishment. A new world order where technology is going to take a huge leap forward with nanotechnology and the Internet of Things, Sustainable Development Horizon 2020, the Human Brain Project, all kinds of massive leaps forward that will basically automate our world and make humans virtually redundant. Now we're getting a halo effect. That sundog's quite persistent. The Internet of Things is set to remove all your privacies. They're actually going to have to redefine what privacy means as they intrude on our lives on a daily basis, with targeted adverts when you use the internet, with monitoring all your activities, where you're going, using your smartphone. Remember, smartphone, the acronym SMART, it means self-monitoring, analysing and reporting technology. Well, you can have smart light bulbs, smart meters, smart TVs. Everything with smart attached to it is going to be about monitoring us and sending information back to some supercomputer somewhere. And eventually it will be used to tax us, to limit us, to control us. In this horrific Orwellian or Huxley vision of the future, this Big Brother and the Brave New World, this is where the oligarchy have been working towards, where they can have total control, the Anthropocene, where these men or women or this oligarchy, they can exert total control over all life. By introducing biotechnology and nanotechnology into plant life, into food, into the air we breathe, into all parts of our life. Obviously they're manipulating the atmosphere now. I mean, the atmosphere doesn't look like it should do. This is bizarre. And when the planes are grounded following 9/11 and the 2010 volcanic eruption in Iceland, in the UK, the planes are grounded. When the planes are grounded, the sky became blue again. The clouds disappeared. There's a direct link between the massive increase in cloud cover and aeroplanes flying. It's huge. And of course we've got the electromagnetic frequencies, massive antenna arrays all around the world, and different antenna systems and satellites and everything else interacting with the atmospheric electricity to stimulate and ionize different particles and regions of the atmosphere as part of this control program to control the weather and climate. There's many different methods. You can't nail it down to one method because it's been developed over hundreds of years. And with particular interest in the last 70 years, as the realisation of all the various developments in the years previous were starting to come to fruition, they realised, yes, they will be able to introduce a global weather and climate modification program. But they haven't done it openly, they've done it secretly because they have a bigger agenda. The bigger agenda is one world government and to enslave the planet. These empire builders, these imperialists, they've always been conquering other nations and dominating people. Incredibly cruel, psychopathic leaders, whether it's royalty or bankers or whoever's funding these wars, whoever's instigating these wars, all these people through the years, they're truly psychopathic, sociopathic, insane people. Well, now they've got the technology to control the weather and climate. They're introducing biotechnology to start controlling food supplies. They want domination of the food supplies through a program called the bioeconomy, which is linked to sustainable development. They are literally looking at introducing all this massive technological shifts to dominate the planet and to finally enslave the whole planet, like the imperialist dream, these empire builders, to finally get the whole empire. But what they realise is they need your consent. It won't work otherwise, which is why they've concocted these massive lies, these massive agendas over many decades, because they need to con you. They need you to believe that you should consent to sustainable development and the globalists' plans. They need your consent. So you have to register that you do not consent. We have to wake up, do all the research and do what we can to wake up everybody together. No more obstacles, you know, all this programming we've had, all the different isms. We've got to overcome all that in ourselves. We've got to grow in. We've got to be the change we want to see. We've got to participate in our freedom, because they're not going to let us have freedom unless we demand it. So please, my friends, take care. Do all you can. Bye for now.